All right. How's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? Now, I dropped a video saying that I was going to do a video basically going through some scriptures, going through the uh, Genesis is going to be the first book that I was going to go over. I was going to touch on some key points that were in Genesis and, go why Genesis is probably a little bit more accurate than your per se sciences and whatnot, the stuff that science kind of leaves out, and go through some key passages and stuff like that, and go through the Bible and why it's probably more safe, and what society wants you to go ahead and um, comply with, why it's probably more safe to go ahead and put full confidence in scriptures than it is, say, your science and academia that's constantly changing. But with that being said, that's going to be another video. I'll probably go ahead and go through that tomorrow. It'll probably just be me by myself, kind of doing what I'm doing right here. I'll probably go ahead and jot down some bullet points and go through that and some notions that they teach you in academia, and then go through scriptures and basically kind of explain them a little bit more. But with that being said, this is I was tagged in a post on Facebook about Ted Cruz and claiming that they're going to go ahead and start fighting big tech censorship. This is what we get from the politicians that are in DC. It's, generally, whenever you look at this stuff, it's kind of like, well, now they're going to go ahead and start passing legislations to go ahead and control. And this is actually what I say is this country has pretty much been fascist since 1913. We're not a capitalist economy, so whenever you hear the leftists come out and say capitalism is what's destroying this country, yeah, and they really, at the end of the day, they're more advocating for fascism than anybody else, but they'll call you a fascist. It's so now they have a policy saying that big tech doesn't have the right to discriminate, and really, it's more discriminatory than it is any kind of legitimate censorship. Like whenever you go ahead and take in consideration the hypocrisy that is YouTube, they don't take down any videos regarding the Russiagate conspiracy of the Russian hacking back in 2016, whenever Trump won the election. You had, but they didn't get a lot of views neither. The they would get the mainstream media would get views on it. They would get an audience, but it was probably no more or less the audience than they already had. Ultimately, with the Russiagate shit, was basically the death of your mainstream media as a whole. While they were pushing that narrative, all of a sudden, after complaining for 4 years that you can't question election integrity, all of a sudden, after they questioned the integrity of the election, which, let's be real, there was some foul play in the 2016 election as well as the 2012 election. Because there's no way that Hillary Clinton got the 65 million votes. There's just no way. There's no way that it's accurate. You know what I'm saying? And this is the issue that the left keeps running into. This is the issue that really is going on in California too, as people leave there in droves. This is exactly where our immigration is coming from. The immigration crisis isn't coming from the border. You know what I'm saying? It's not coming from Mexico. It's coming from California. This is where a mass majority of our population is growing here in Texas. It's from all the people leaving blue states like California, same way it is in Florida, with a lot of people migrating to Florida from New York. There's a lot of people migrating to Texas that are from California. There's a lot of people going to Tennessee from these blue states as well. Arizona's another state. They're migrating from blue states to red states, and this is where you're getting a lot of the migration problems that the left will have you, or the right will have you believe is coming from Mexico, and it's not. There's no more or less. I mean, even if there was an immigration crisis coming from Venezuela, it would pretty much kind of stave off in between the Costa Ricas, the Central American countries, and into Mexico. They would be having the same kind of crisis, and they aren't. So we can tell that a lot of this stuff is just placebos. Whenever you started to go ahead, really, at the end of the day, what needs to happen is that we need to go ahead and repeal the National Defense Authorization Act. Repeal that, and then you're going to start to get more coherent media, a more coherent media that's not there just as an extension to Washington to go ahead and be used to go ahead and try and instigate a war, which, like I said, right now they're trying to instigate World War III in the mainstream media. The only problem is that a lot of these networks have lost confidence. A lot of these platforms, and if nobody's reading press and nobody is, they're not getting your newspaper anymore. They're not no longer subscribing to your media outlets or watching your media networks. You censored a majority of them on these platforms because of going against whatever narrative that because you no longer does the State Department is the sole proprietor of what constitute, um, you know, uh, the populace anymore. And this is why the left, because what good is a Democrat Party that doesn't represent a majority? Because it's what democracy is, majority rules. If the majority is not on your side, then you're not effectively a Democrat Party. You know what I'm saying? And effectively, we can tell right now that the majority is not on your side. So with that being said, yeah, this is kind of like what we're looking at right now. So Ted Cruz and another gentleman have passed a bill to where they're going to write some form of legislation. And ultimately, really, they just had to repeal a lot of the legislation that was already passed. Some of these institutions, like the State Department, that have put pressure on these institutions to go ahead and discriminate openly, like YouTube discriminates openly, like Facebook discriminates openly, like Twitter discriminates openly. And it's all biasness. It's all based on biasness. So I meant, ultimately, this should have been a thing. They should have repealed the National Defense Authorization Act a long time ago. And I think that as we keep going, because like I said, it's this big political theater, and it's getting to be kind of dangerous, and it's beginning to become a nuisance. Whenever we see the prices go up, whenever we see how it's affecting day-to-day lives, with these people sitting there blaming you openly, blaming the average everyday citizen for the issues that they have, the overwhelming issues. It's becoming to be, like, what's the point of even having these institutions around if they're not going to sit here and do their jobs that they're supposed to? We pay our taxes to live in a civilized society, and society is looking less and less civilized. So, yeah, I don't know exactly how this legislation is supposed to work. How this is going to somehow stop the censorship. It's going to be more government control, and this ends up being the issue, is that the government always gives itself more power. Now, when you look at it on paper, oh yeah, they're not going to be able to discriminate. It's going to give all these, but whenever it's usually in practice, whenever they put it out, then say we have this new platform called Rumble coming out, which I still haven't been able to go ahead and upload a video on it, but you have Rumble coming out. So, I mean, it's a new platform. What happens if it doesn't meet these requirements that the federal government is going to set? Well, are they going to get penalized for that? I don't know. Because whenever you incorporate more power into the federal government, you're losing more of your freedoms. You understand what I'm saying? Whenever you give Joe Biden the authority to go ahead and arbitrarily tax, like you did Obama, then you're giving away a lot of your freedom and giving them more authority. And this is the absolute opposite direction that we should be going as a country. You know what I'm saying? So, ultimately, this is kind of where we're at in the country. Whenever you look at the politics going on, the Hegelian dialect, no doubt that the Republicans are going to win by a landslide. Will the Democrats do every fucking thing that they can through their remedial media sources that have ultimately killed the internet at the same time that they've killed mainstream media. And, ultimately they're killing entertainment. Everything that they touch, it's almost like AIDS. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like some sort of fucking plague or virus or something. And whenever they touch something, it ends up dying. You look at the Disney trying to push all this woke bullshit out, and I don't understand why people still have Disney Plus because Warner Brothers is trying to change. We could see these you know big studios starting to be affected now. We know with all their stimulus money, all their inflation, all of these taxes that they're ultimately trying to kill the economy. I've done videos on this 4 or 5 years ago before they even started doing these. Before this ever started, I started doing videos basically saying on this is how they're going to do, and people haven't woke up. They're not taking enough action. At some point in time, people will have to start taking action. I don't know when everybody's going to start taking action. They've been living in their own little fucking bubbles and stuff, thinking, oh yeah, wow, this is neat, until it affects their lives personally. And this seems to be the issue. Uh, you know, and it's, one of those things where nobody wants to do the shit, but eventually we're going to have to make the decisions that we don't want to make. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not being left with any more choices. So yeah, I don't know how well this bill will be. Like I said, ultimately, if Ted Cruz really wanted to go ahead and work on getting rid of censorship, he would probably go ahead and get rid of HR 5736 with the media propaganda, HR 5181 with the Counter Propaganda Act. Now, the left will sit there and try to explain this, that these legislations are exactly what they say, but we know absolutely 110% because we've already seen them in action that this is not the case. It's them going ahead and, creating propaganda to go ahead and, you know, influence the nation at large. And the other bill is too much pretty to control the source of information that are coming out and explaining how these are propaganda acts and how they're influencing you. So ultimately, what it's doing is it's killing a lot of a majority of any kind of social platform, definitely, but also entertainment and media. They're absolutely gone right now. Is anybody interested in seeing She-Hulk? Because I sure as fuck am not. Or any of these other movies that are coming out that look absolutely woke. I went to go see what was it? Black Phone, and it was a solid movie, but you don't hear anybody talking about how good these movies are because nobody's going to see them. Nobody's interested. You're not seeing movie reviews. Wrestling is losing its momentum. The NFL looks absolutely fake, and I have no interest in watching those things. So I meant, entertainment as a whole. I watch old Three Stooges movies. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they're trying to do with this legislation. So I just wanted to come out and do a really quick live stream to say that, apparently you can go ahead and check the link in the description below and read the article for yourself. And I mean, there's people out there that watch it, but certainly it's, not enough people. Like, Halloween Ends it'll be me and Kev talking about it, but there won't be a lot of people. It won't have a lot of interest. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with, I'm not hearing any real big buzz except for Kev and PK Valor on his channel. And like Cabal knows about it, like various other people. There's not a lot of buzz behind it. So, it is what it is. It's the entertainment industry as a whole losing a lot of interest because of wokeism. It's a lot of, things going on with a lot of censorship and stuff like that. And it's ultimately starting to kill a lot of the entertainment. So I think that ultimately at the end of the day, what you're seeing is a collapse of Hollywood, which is starting to look like the collapse. Once Hollywood collapsed, that's like one of the few markets that California has to even sustain itself as as a state without going under. And then once Hollywood collapses, then Silicon Valley collapses. Then California, you don't want to be anywhere in California when that happens, because it's going to be absolute anarchy. It's going to be absolute anarchy. And so, looking at the direction that YouTube and Facebook and Twitter are going, which this is on all three platforms while they're still here. Rumble just opened up. So Rumble's going to be challenging, and you've already had alternatives to Twitter and Facebook. You had Minds and Gab and whatnot that are out there. You have BitChute. So I mean, you have all of these alternative platforms now. And no doubt with the censorship that you have here on YouTube, with the censorship that you have on Facebook, with the censorship that you have on Twitter, you're going to start seeing more people go to Truth Social, go to Gab, and I'm already seeing less and less traffic on these platforms of, Facebook and like Twitter and whatnot. I don't see any organic traffic. It's all these fake media people, pretty much shills. So, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. You people, tell me what you think. Do you think that this is gonna change anything? Do you think that they're gonna, handcuff big tech and not allow them to censor? If they're gonna allow people to go ahead and keep their personal product, that would be interesting. But you people, tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit YouTube tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.